All right, so 2.06. Today we are looking at slope in context. Slope in context. Now, the first thing I want us to actually get down is what does it mean to be talking about context? We've seen this word. It would help if I actually brought up my screen. Apologies. We've seen this word before, and so context generally tells us two things here. The first is that we're most likely working with word problems. When you see context, especially in this class, think word problems, right? Scenarios, real world scenarios. The second part of context that really just comes from working with scenarios, units. Units are super important when we work in context because we need to have an understanding of what is actually happening in the problem. Okay, well, if we're going to talk about slope in context, let's quickly restamp the two different ways that we have for slope. And so the first one, we have rise over run, which is also the same thing as change in y over change in x. Now, specifically, we've talked about this before, this is how we calculate slope graphically. This is how we calculate slope graphically. And so if you're given a graph, this is what I expect you to do. Just like I'm going to do now, right? Draw in your triangles, find your change in y, put it over your change in x, there's your slope. The second way that we used both on the do now and just in our drill, right, is that m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, this specifically is algebraically. We are going to use a lot of the second one today. And so, we're actually going to get even more practice. If you look down at that partner practice, the one thing I want us to do together is annotate these points. We're going to be writing this annotation like umpteen different times today. We need to be comfortable with it and fast with it. x1, y1, x2, y2. From here, this is now just a substitution game. You're going to take those values, substitute them into our slope equation. You're going to have 1 minute. You can work with those around you. Go. Seeing Chiral already ending up with a slope. Setting up that fraction, very nice. Again, just looking to find the slope between these 2 points. "20 seconds left, looking to get a slope after these next, now 15 seconds. All right, and let's bring it back in 3 and in 2, and make sure all the way back as up front in 1, please. Liz, thank you. Thank you. We are there. As I just make sure I advise, please. Thank you. All right, so raise your hand. What is the full fraction? And so I should have like literally from here, substituting in the numbers. What should I have? Eden, nice and loud, please. Ooh, careful. Hang on. I want the full fraction, so I want the subtraction included in this. Kyra. -6 minus -2. Is that what we annotated? Not quite, Janaya. Thank you. Over, Janaya, keep going. Okay, so one thing we need to be careful of right now. 1, just make sure that we're annotating, or we're substituting in the way that we annotate. What I'll name is, we've talked about this before, you can switch the order of the points. I could have said -6 is x2, y2. However, that's just not what we annotated here. Second, everybody, a double negative turns into a
Positive.
okay, and so I really have negative 2 plus 6 over negative 2 plus 6. So, from here, raise your hand. What is negative 2 plus 6? What is negative 2 plus 6? Sorry. 4 over 4. And so, again, raise your hand. A final answer. My slope is really just what, Lewis? Louder, one more time. 1. Okay. Again, some good practice with slope. From here, I'm actually not worried about the fast worker section. I need you to flip your notes page, please. Go. So, when we see slope in context, number one thing we're going to see in terms of actual wording, rate of change. When you see rate of change, I need you to immediately be thinking of slope. They are synonymous. They are one and the same. You see rate of change, you see slope. And so, this might seem a little awkward. However, once we do a practice problem, this little blurb I think is going to be really obvious. And so the rate of change is how fast the y value changes per increase of 1 for the x value. Now, what this first sentence is saying, right, is when we have used slopes and unit rates before, it's always things like cost per 1 month, right? This 1 is here because cost per 7 months doesn't give me useful information, right? We've worked with fruit before. We looked at the price of cherries. We had dollars per pound. Again, that's per 1 pound because going in knowing that cherries are $12 per 3 pounds, again, is just not super useful. And so it always represents, this we've done before, the y unit per x unit. Cost per month. Dollars per pound. Miles per hour. Gallons per mile. It's always the same setup. And so, let's take a look at example 1 knowing this. Who can read example 1 nice and loud? Oh no, we forgot how to read. Oh no. Kyrell, thank you.
Alyssa is on a hike. After 2 hours, she is at an altitude of 400 feet. After 6 hours, she is at an altitude of 700 feet. What is the average speed of Alyssa's climbing?
Thank you very much. So, a few things. As he's read, I have gone through and I have been annotating. I am circling the 2 and the 400. The reason I circled those and then put boxes around 6 and 700 is that each pair that's annotated the same creates a coordinate point. 2 hours, 400 feet. 6 hours, 700 feet. And then when we see what's the average speed, this is slope. This is asking us, okay, what is the slope? Now, units are going to be important. Units are going to be really important. And so before I even jump into my slope calculation, what are my x units? What are my x units? Sorry. 2 and 6 are the numbers. What are the units?
6 hours.
Hours. And then my y units are what? Feet. Okay. So I know that when I actually have an answer, I should have my y unit per my x unit, which is feet per hour. Right? That's how my answer should go. Okay. Knowing that, let's now actually list out the points that we have. I have 2, 400, and I have 6, 700. I need slope, x1, y1, x2, y2. And so slope is going to be equal to 700 minus 400 over 6 minus 2. Okay, help me out. What is 700 minus 400?
300.
300 over, what's 6 minus 4? Or sorry, what's 6 minus 2? 4. Now, again, this is where that like per 1 unit of x comes back. Right now, we have 300 feet per 4 hours. I do not want per 4 hours, and so I actually need to do the division to get to that 1 hour. What is 300 divided by 4? 75. So m is going to be equal to 75. And so we're going to use this to create our answer sentence. Alyssa climbs at 75. Raise your hand. What? 75 what? Janaya? Feet. What's the end of it? I heard it. Say it again. Per hour. Alyssa climbs 75 feet per hour. Truly all we're doing here, find slope, create an answer sentence with units. There it is. Find slope, create an answer sentence with units. Any questions so far? All right, let's rock it through the next 2 examples. Example 2, we've got a cell phone company. Here's the sign-up fee. Again, they want rate of change. Rate of change. What word do we think of? Slope. Good. And so, I can choose any 2 points. I'm going to opt for just the first 2. I'm going to have 3, 120, and 4, 145, x1, y1, x2, y2, slope 145 minus 120 over 4 minus 1. What is 145 minus 120? So high? 25 over, what mistake did I make? Carol. That should be 3. I should have 4 minus 3. I got 1 step ahead of myself because 4 minus 3, everybody is. Ooh. I want more voices. 4 minus 3, everybody is. There it is. So I should get 25 over 1, which is just 25. Now, I know slope is 25. Again, now I just need my answer sentence. Raise your hand. What should my answer sentence be? What should my answer sentence be? Waiting on hands. What should my answer sentence be? Janai.
The phone company charges $45
Yeah. They charge $25 per month. That is our answer sentence. All right, I'm going to go to example 3. I'm going to go through it kind of fast for the sake of time. We are not going to actually do all of it. I just need to find slope on example 3. So, we have pricing for a dog breeder. We know 6 puppies is $172. 10 puppies, $220. Those are my 2 coordinate points. I'm going to have 6, 172. And 10 to 20, x1, y1, x2, y2. Again, this setup does not change. I know it says write an equation. I'm not worried about that. I want us to interpret slope. So, m is going to be equal to 220 minus 172 over 10 minus 6. We're going to end up with, well, denominator's easy. That's just 4. But the numerator, who is their calculator? Who can help me out? 220 minus 172. Jose. 45. Wait, 45?
It's 48.
Oh. 48.
48. Okay, 48. From here, what's 48 divided by 4? 12. And so, for right now, the puppies are $12 per puppy. For now, that's really all I want us to have. If you know anything about buying a dog, this is wildly cheap. It's really inexpensive. Yeah, it's. Somebody says, "Here's a puppy for $12." That is the first question you should ask. All right, from here, fold these, get these glued into your notebooks, please. You got 1 minute. Go.